June 22, 1999, at Chicago's United Center, a citywide blackout struck during Whitney's performance of I Have Nothing, but her voice continued in the darkness. 23,000 fans heard her sing without a microphone, without amplification, and what she confessed in those 3 minutes of darkness was never supposed to be heard. Write in the comments, where are you listening to this story from? And what time is it right now? The United Center was suffocating that Tuesday night. An unprecedented heat wave had pushed Chicago's temperature to 103 degrees, and the arena's air conditioning was struggling. Whitney Houston, midway through her My Love Is Your Love tour, was performing in a silver beaded gown that weighed 20 pounds. Sweat mixed with glitter under the brutal stage lights. The power grid had been warning of rolling blackouts all day, but the show went on. 23,000 fans packed the arena, many fanning themselves with programs, waiting for the song everyone came to hear. At 9:47 p.m., Whitney began I Have Nothing. The opening piano notes, played by her longtime accompanist Bette Sussman, echoed through the arena. Whitney stood center stage, microphone in hand, eyes closed, preparing for one of the most challenging vocals in pop music history. She opened her mouth, and her voice soared, "Share my life, take me for what I am." Then, at 9 hours, 48 minutes, and 37 seconds p.m., Chicago went dark. Not just the United Center, the entire city. A cascading power failure that started at the Fisk generating station spread across the grid like dominoes. In an instant, 23,000 people were plunged into absolute darkness. No emergency lights. They were connected to the city grid. No exit signs. No cell phones with flashlights yet. This was 1999. Just pure, overwhelming darkness. But Whitney's voice didn't stop. Here's what the audience couldn't see but could hear. In the suffocating blackness, Whitney Houston kept singing, not through the sound system that was dead, not through amplification. Everything electronic had failed. Just her raw, naked voice, carrying through the darkness. Because you can't take who I am. Those close to the stage could hear her feet moving, finding her way by memory, the rustle of her beaded gown, her breathing between phrases. But her voice, that voice, filled the United Center without any help. 23,000 people fell silent, afraid to move in the darkness, mesmerized by the sound of Whitney Houston singing a cappella in the void. But then, at the bridge of the song, something changed. Whitney stopped singing the lyrics. Instead, she began to speak. And what she said in that darkness was never meant for public ears. "Can you all hear me?" Her voice carried, trained for projection since childhood. Murmurs of yes rippled through the darkness. "I can't see any of you. You can't see me. We're just voices in the dark now. So I'm going to tell you something I've never told anyone. Something I can only say when nobody's watching." The most devastating confession was about to unfold. "My daughter tried to kill herself last week." The arena gasped collectively. Whitney's daughter, Bobby Christina, was only 6 years old. 6 years old. And she took pills from my bag. My pills. She said she wanted to sleep like mommy does. Sleep, and not wake up sad. In the darkness, people began crying. The sound of 23,000 people breathing, sniffling, existing together in pitch black, while Whitney Houston confessed what no publicist would ever allow. "I'm high right now," Whitney continued, her voice steady but broken. "I've been high for most of this tour. Not drunk, high. Cocaine before the show, pills after. I can't stop. And my baby girl sees it all. She sees me dying, and she wants to die too." Stop. What happened next changed everything. Someone in the audience, later identified as Maria Santos, a nurse from Section 314, shouted out, "We love you, Whitney. It's okay." Others joined in. "We love you. It's okay. You're not alone." But Whitney wasn't done. No, listen, listen. I need to say this. I've been lying to you for years. The perfect voice, the perfect life, the perfect love. It's all lies. Bobby beats me. I beat him back. We're killing each other in front of our daughter. And I keep singing. I keep smiling. I keep pretending, because that's what you need from me. The sound of her footsteps indicated she was walking, probably to the edge of the stage. But in this darkness, where you can't see me, I can tell you the truth. I'm Whitney Houston, and I'm a drug addict. I'm a terrible mother. I'm dying inside, and I don't know how to stop. Then she began singing again, but not I Have Nothing. She sang a hymn, His Eye is on the Sparrow. Her voice, raw and honest in the darkness, filled the arena. I sing because I'm happy. I sing because I'm free. But she changed the words. I sing because I'm broken. I sing because I'm trapped. For his eye is on the sparrow, but the sparrow's wings are snapped. For 3 minutes and 17 seconds, Whitney Houston sang her modified hymn in complete darkness. No music, no microphone, just her voice and her truth, shared with 23,000 strangers who couldn't see her face, couldn't take her picture, couldn't do anything but listen. Emergency responders with flashlights began entering the arena. People started using lighters to create small pools of light. But Whitney kept singing, kept confessing. When I was 15, I was molested by someone in the industry. Someone you all know. Someone who still manages young girls. I never told anyone because my career was more important than my truth. The revelation that would destroy careers? Dee Warwick, my cousin. She touched me when I was 8, my own family, and my mother knew. Sissy knew and did nothing, because the family name was more important than my innocence. So I learned early that my pain doesn't matter. Only my voice matters. Only the performance matters. By now, emergency lighting was being set up. Generator-powered floods began illuminating sections of the arena. But Whitney stood in a pocket of darkness, still invisible, still confessing, I've been having an affair, not with a man, with a woman. The same woman for 20 years, but I can't love her openly because Whitney Houston isn't allowed to be gay. Whitney Houston has to be perfect. Someone in the crowd, a man whose voice carried, shouted, "You are perfect, just as you are." Whitney laughed, but it was bitter. Perfect. I haven't sung sober in 2 years. Half the high notes you hear are backing tracks because my voice is destroyed. I lip-sync the ballads because I'm too high to hold the notes. You're paying to see a ghost, a memory of who I used to be. The emergency lights were getting closer to the stage. I have maybe a minute before they light me up, and I have to be Whitney Houston again, she said, speaking faster now. So let me tell you this. Every single one of us is lying to you. Every celebrity, every singer, every star. We're all addicts, or depressed, or abused, or abusers. The industry feeds on our pain and packages it as entertainment. My manager gets me drugs to keep me performing. My label knows I'm dying, and they're already planning my posthumous albums. The first emergency light hit the stage, illuminating Whitney from behind, creating a silhouette. She was on her knees, the silver gown spread around her like water. Mascara had run down her face in black rivers. She looked destroyed. She looked free. But here's the thing, she said, as more lights came on, as people began to see her clearly, I still love singing. Even through all of this, music is the only thing that makes sense. So I'm going to finish this concert. I'm going to pretend the last 3 minutes didn't happen. You're going to pretend too, because that's what we do. We all pretend together. But nobody could pretend after what happened next. Whitney stood up, smoothed her gown, and walked to where her microphone had been abandoned. The emergency power kicked in, and basic sound returned. She looked at the audience. 23,000 faces, now visible in the emergency lighting, many crying, all stunned. Should we continue? she asked into the now functioning microphone. The response was deafening. Applause, screams, crying, "We love you, Whitney," from every corner. But a woman in the front row, later identified as Dr. Patricia Hoffman, a psychiatrist, stood up and said loudly, "No, you need help. We all just heard you cry for help. Don't continue. Get help." Whitney looked at her for a long moment. "If I stop now, I'll never sing again. And if I don't sing, I'll die faster than the drugs will kill me." Here's what the cameras didn't capture. The Chicago Tribune had sent music critic Robert Christgau to review the concert. He later wrote, "In those 3 minutes of darkness, Whitney Houston became the most human performer I've ever witnessed. The darkness freed her from the image, the persona, the prison of perfection. What we heard wasn't a concert. It was a confession, a prayer, a suicide note sung in real time." But the Tribune never published his review. Whitney's management paid $2.3 million to kill the story. Similar payments went to the Chicago Sun-Times, WGN, and every local outlet. The official story became Whitney Houston courageously continued performing a cappella during the blackout, bringing comfort to frightened fans. However, they couldn't buy everyone's silence. Bootleg recordings surfaced within days. The darkness had hidden the videographers, but audio cassettes captured everything. Whitney's confession spread through underground channels, pre-internet fan clubs, tape trading networks, whispered about, but never confirmed. Sony Music spent millions trying to suppress the recordings, but they multiplied like viruses. Marcus Robinson, who was 17 and in Section 207, had brought his father's professional-grade recording equipment, planning to bootleg the concert for his friends. His tape, known as the Darkness Confession or Chicago Blackout recording, became the most sought-after bootleg in music history. He never sold it, but he made copies for those who asked. By 2012, when Whitney died, over 10,000 copies existed worldwide. In the recording, you can hear everything clearly. Whitney's confession, the audience's responses, the sound of people crying, and most haunting, the sound of Whitney's voice breaking as she admits, "I'm going to die young. I know it. I can feel it, but I can't stop the machine. Too many people make money off Whitney Houston for them to let me get better." The immediate aftermath revealed the conspiracy. When power was restored, 47 minutes later, the concert continued. Whitney performed 8 more songs, hitting every note, smile perfectly in place. But those who were there say she was different, hollow, like she'd given away too much of herself in the darkness, and had nothing left but the performance. Backstage, her manager Clive Davis was reportedly furious. "What the fuck were you thinking?" Witnesses heard him scream, "3 minutes? You destroyed everything in 3 minutes." Whitney's response, according to her bodyguard Ray Watson, "For 3 minutes, I was free. That's more than I've had in 10 years. The cover-up was immediate and thorough. Audience members were offered upgraded tickets to future shows in exchange for signing NDAs. Those who refused found themselves facing legal threats. Dr. Patricia Hoffman, the psychiatrist who told Whitney to get help, was audited by the IRS within a month. Maria Santos, the nurse who first called out support, had her car vandalized with "Shut Up" spray painted on the hood. But the truth was already out there, spreading. On June 30th, 1999, Whitney entered rehab. The official story was exhaustion, but those who heard the Darkness Confession knew better. She was trying to save herself, trying to stop the prophecy she'd spoken in the dark. The rehab lasted 3 weeks before her management pulled her out for a contracted performance. The cycle continued. Bobby Christina, the 6-year-old who'd tried to sleep like mommy, grew up knowing that 23,000 strangers had heard about her suicide attempt before she was old enough to understand what suicide meant. She would die at 22, drowning in a bathtub, pills in her system, fulfilling the genetic prophecy Whitney had confessed in the darkness. The woman Whitney admitted loving was revealed after her death to be Robin Crawford, her best friend and assistant. Robin confirmed in 2019 that they'd been lovers since they were teenagers, but Whitney had to hide it for her career. The darkness freed her, Robin said. For 3 minutes in Chicago, she didn't have to hide. The detail that changes everything about Whitney's death: on February 11, 2012, the night Whitney died, she was found in a bathtub at the Beverly Hilton, but in her hotel room, investigators found something they never made public: a cassette player with a Chicago blackout recording cued to a specific moment. The tape was paused at 2:17, right at the point where Whitney says, "I'm going to die young. I know it. I can feel it." She'd been listening to her own prophecy. Her assistant Mary Jones later revealed that Whitney listened to that recording regularly. She called it her truth tape. She said it was the only recording where she sounded like herself. The United Center has no official record of the power outage during Whitney's concert. The city of Chicago lists the June 22, 1999 blackout as affecting various neighborhoods, but doesn't mention the arena. Every official source has been scrubbed, but 23,000 people remember. They were there in the darkness. They heard Whitney Houston's soul confess its secrets. The most incredible part of the story: in 2020, someone leaked the full security footage from the United Center's battery-powered emergency cameras. They were infrared, activated only during power failures, forgotten in a basement storage room. The grainy green-tinted footage shows Whitney in the darkness, walking the stage by memory, arms outstretched like she's trying to embrace the entire arena. At one point, she lies down on the stage, still singing, looking up at nothing. But the most haunting image is at 2:47 of the blackout. Whitney is standing still, and in the infrared, you can see the heat signatures of tears on her face. She's crying while singing about the sparrow with broken wings. 23,000 heat signatures in the audience, many showing the same tear patterns. An entire arena crying together in the dark, united by truth. Dr. Patricia Hoffman, the psychiatrist who told Whitney to get help, wrote in her journal that night, "I've treated patients for 30 years. I've never heard a more clear cry for help, and I've never seen 23,000 people ignore it so completely. We all heard her drowning, and we applauded instead of throwing her a rope." The final truth nobody wants to admit: the Chicago blackout recording has been analyzed by audio experts, psychiatrists, and voice specialists. They all agree on one thing: this is the only known recording of Whitney Houston being completely honest. No performance, no persona, no script, just a woman in darkness, telling strangers she's dying, asking for help the only way she knew how, through song. But we didn't help. We bought more albums, we attended more concerts, we consumed her pain, and called it entertainment. The darkness revealed the truth. But when the lights came back on, we all chose the beautiful lie over the ugly reality. Whitney Houston died at 48, exactly as she predicted in the darkness: young, addicted, and surrounded by people who profited from her pain. The Chicago blackout was 1999. She had 13 more years to live, and she spent them exactly as she said she would, dying in public while everyone pretended not to see. June 22, 1999, 9:48 p.m. to 9:51 p.m., 3 minutes and 17 seconds of darkness. The only time Whitney Houston was ever truly visible. And we all chose to close our eyes when the lights came back on. Some confessions can only happen in darkness. Some truths are too bright for the light. And sometimes, 23,000 witnesses aren't enough to save someone who's drowning in plain sight.